Hello everyone, Clayton here at etrailer.com. Here at etrailer.com, we install, test, and review a lot of different products to help you as a customer make a more educated decision before your purchase. Today we're going to be working on a 2017 Ford Expedition that we're going to be taking a look at, and I'll show you how to install the Blue Ox base plate kit with removable arms. If you're already looking at base plates, you're definitely considering flat towing your vehicle behind your motorhome or maybe another vehicle. This base plate kit is going to be a really good one to consider. We didn't have to do any trimming of our fascia. It just fits up right where our tow hooks were. So that's a really nice feature. This is what it's going to look like every day. We have our arms out now, and we have our plastic caps in. As you can see, it kind of fits in with the look of our Expedition. Our base plate is going to be that key connection point between the frame on our Expedition and our tow bar. Now, our base plate is one of the key components in our flat towing setup. We're going to have our base plate, of course, our tow bar, our diode wiring, our supplemental braking system, and our safety cables. Our base plate is going to be a steel construction, so it's going to be really strong for a long time. It also has a really nice black powder coat finish to help resist rust and corrosion over time as well. Whenever we are ready to flat tow, we just want to pull our plastic cap out. These do fit pretty snugly, that way they don't fly out every day. We can grab our arms. We'll want to make sure that we have our pin straight up and down. We'll push it in like that, and then turn it 90 degrees to the inside. And we're ready to hook up our tow bar. Whenever we're ready to disconnect from our RV, we'll remove our tow bar. We pull out on our ring, slide it back up, and simply remove our arm, and we can replace our dust cap. Now, these dust caps are going to be really nice. It's going to keep all dirt and debris out of our base plate for day-to-day use. And these are going to be our safety chain tabs, so our safety chains will just simply slide in to these, and those are required whenever you are flat towing. And in terms of installation, getting the base plate onto our Expedition really isn't that bad. No welding, no major tools required. All we have to do is take our fascia off and drill a couple holes. With all that being said, I'll show you how to get installed now. To start our installation, we want to pop our hood. Then we're going to remove this black panel up here on top. We're going to have 12 Phillips head screws. With all of our screws removed, we can lift our panel off and set it off to the side. We're now going to have 4 T30 screws to remove on the top of our grill. We can now move down to our wheel well. We're going to have 3 7mm bolts on each side to remove. With our hardware removed on the passenger side, we can now repeat that same process on the driver's side. Our next step is going to be to remove 2 10mm bolts. Now, they're going to be right here inside of our fender. They are going to be really tough to get to, so taking your wheel off or turning it is really going to help you get to those. Our case is a little bit different. Our customer already has their breakaway switch and diode wiring mounted up, so now we're going to remove that. But if you don't have it, you can disregard this step. Before we remove our fascia, we're just going to put some blue painter's tape along our body lines. That way, if we accidentally scratch the paint, it'll get the tape and actually not the paint. So we'll just put tape on there on both sides, kind of following that body line. Yeah, you don't have to do this, but I highly recommend it. And now with an extra set of hands, we can get our fascia pulled off. You're just going to pull down on the corners, just like so. Then you'll kind of pull out and work your way towards the middle. Then we can lift out. And then if you do have any wiring for fog lights, you'll want to disconnect that now. We'll pull down on the red tab, and then push in on our connector and pull down. Then we do have a couple push pins holding our fascia to our bumper beam. You can grab a trim panel tool and just pry out on that, releasing the clip. Now we can lift our fascia off and set it off to the side in a safe location. With our fascia removed, we are now ready to remove 2 15mm bolts securing our tow hook. Now, these do have some thread locker on them from the factory, so you might want to get a long breaker bar or a long ratchet just to give you some more leverage. With our tow hook removed, we can now repeat the same process on the driver's side. We will be reusing our factory hardware from the tow hooks, so you do want to make sure to clean the blue Loctite off. I suggest picking up a wire brush. You can find one here at etrailer.com, and then using some brake clean. We're just going to spray that on there, then take our wire brush and just brush off all of that blue Loctite. We can now go ahead and add red Loctite to our existing hardware. This is why we cleaned off all that blue Loctite. We now take our existing nut plate and just slide it through the frame and get it lined up with our holes. We can now grab our base plate. We want our safety hook facing the inside of the vehicle. Now we'll lift this into place, just like so, and then we will get our hardware started. We have one of our bolts started, so that'll give us enough room to get our second one started without having to hold our base plate. So we'll just get our second bolt started as well. You might have to move that nut plate around to get everything to line up. But once you get it started, you can repeat that same process on the other side. When we are tightening it down, you want to make sure that the side of our base plate is going to be flush with our frame rail. With our base plate tightened down on the driver's side, we can now repeat that same process over on the passenger side. We're now going to grab a 1/2-inch drill bit and just mark our holes here. And we're going to come back with a smaller drill bit and drill out a pilot hole. With our holes drilled out on our driver's side, we'll now move over to our passenger side and repeat that same process. Now I want to grab our 1/2-inch bolts provided. We're going to add our red Loctite, just like we did to the other ones. And then our kit is going to come with 4 handle nuts. That's going to be 2 for each side. We can grab our handle nut. All we're going to do is slide that through the opening in the front of our frame right here. And we're going to line it up with the hole on the other side. With our hole lined up, we can slide our bolt through and start to get it threaded. With it threading, you just want to thread it down to where it's hand tight, just like so. We'll repeat that same process for our remaining holes. We can now come back with a 19mm socket and just snug everything down. Now I can repeat the same process on the other side. We are now ready to come back and torque down all of our hardware, and all of our torque specs will be listed in our instructions. We now torque down the rest of our hardware. You don't want to forget to come back and torque down the lower bolts. Now I want to break the handles off of our handle nuts. All you're going to want to do is kind of bend it, then just wiggle it back and forth and all around until that weld breaks, just like that. We're now ready to mount up our safety cables. We're going to start with our quick links. We're going to take this and slide it into the opening in the back of our base plate. Then we can slide our safety cable in like this, and we just want to tighten this down. Using a 17mm wrench, we're just going to tighten down our quick link. Now we want to run our safety cable up and around our body mount. You do want to make sure to stay out of the way of any intercooler or radiator piping. So we're just going to drop this in like that. Kind of pull it around, back down here. We can grab our other quick link. Actually, instead of doing that, I'm just going to drop it down behind the inside of our frame rail, just like so. Now we can pull this around and add our quick link and connect it to itself. As far as our base plate installation, we are fully completed there. Now I will say, if you are adding more flat towing components, now would be a great time before we reinstall our fascia. In this case, our flat towing components are already installed, so we'll go ahead and reinstall our fascia in the reverse order we took it apart. With our fascia reinstalled and all of our flat towing components installed as well, we are now ready to hit the road. That's going to do it for our look at and the installation of the Blue Ox base plate kit with removable arms on our 2017 Ford Expedition.